The digital world paused that Tuesday, as if collectively holding its breath. Fans of TLC's 1,000-Pound Sisters awoke, or scrolled, into a headline that made hearts stop and stomachs drop: Amanda Halterman dead at 40. For years, Amanda had been the family's anchor, a fierce, blunt, and unflinching presence who had become both the glue of her family and a beacon of honesty for viewers. To read her name alongside the word dead was jarring, almost unthinkable. Within minutes, hashtags like #RIP Amanda, #Amanda Forever, and #Heartbroken surged across social media. Screens were flooded with black and white collages, emotional captions, and videos of Amanda laughing with her siblings, teasing her niece and nephews, or offering her characteristic, unvarnished advice. Tributes poured in from fans and creators alike, many expressing not just sadness, but a sense of personal loss. After all, Amanda had spent years in the homes, screens, and feeds of her followers. She had become, through the intimacy of reality TV, a figure many felt they knew personally. The timing made the shock almost unbearable. Just months earlier, the Halterman family had mourned the death of Amanda's brother Caleb. His loss had left a raw wound, one that never fully healed, yet the family had carried on, resilient, visibly strong, and together. To confront another potential tragedy so soon threatened to shatter the sense of stability they had fought to maintain. Fans didn't just mourn a reality TV star, they mourned a sister, an aunt, a protector, a figure of blunt honesty whose strength had been a constant presence on screen. In households across the country, fans shared one another's grief in real time. Community threads on Reddit swelled with disbelief. Comments ranged from stunned silence to heartbreak to anger at the seeming cruelty of fate. Even those who didn't follow the show closely felt a pang. Amanda's presence on the screen had become emblematic of strength, survival, and candor. For many, she had become part of their weekly rhythms, a comforting constant in a chaotic media environment. Yet, as hours passed, the story began to unravel. The foundation of the tragedy started to crack. Amanda Halterman, it turned out, was very much alive. The initial reports had not come from reputable media outlets, nor from a verified source close to her family. They had originated from fringe websites, social media impersonator accounts, and click-driven news farms designed to exploit attention, shock, and grief. The truth, stark and almost painfully simple, was that the narrative had been fabricated. There had been no death, no medical report, no final farewell, just a digital illusion crafted with precision. This revelation, though relieving on one level, exposed a deeper, more unsettling truth. The hoax wasn't just a prank or a reckless rumor, it was a meticulously engineered psychological manipulation. Its creators had understood the rhythms of reality TV fandom, the pulse of attention, the patterns of empathy, the emotional arcs that a shocking death could trigger. They knew that grief follows a familiar narrative: shock, communal mourning, tribute, and aftermath. By scripting the sequence around real people with devoted followings, the architects of the hoax had weaponized empathy itself, transforming it into a tool for engagement and profit. In essence, it was a form of morbid artistry, though not art in the traditional sense. The creators of the hoax demonstrated a terrifying understanding of human psychology. They knew that fans' parasocial connections to reality TV stars could be exploited. Amanda's visibility, her authentic voice, and her role in a family narrative made her a particularly effective target. Within minutes, social media engagement spiked. Every post, share, and comment was a brushstroke in the viral story they had orchestrated, each one amplifying grief, panic, and confusion. For the Halterman-Slayton family, the impact was visceral. Amy, already navigating the complex challenges of motherhood, public scrutiny, and personal growth, was forced into the impossible position of addressing what was essentially a public panic over a fabricated death. Tammy, whose journey through weight loss, health struggles, and personal transformation had inspired millions, found herself confronting a digital phantom of grief she had barely begun to process from Caleb's passing. The psychological strain was real: calls from worried friends, messages from fans, and the sensation that their very lives had been commandeered for clicks and attention created a pressure no one could have anticipated. Amanda herself finally broke her silence, posting a statement that was blunt, exhausted, and unmistakably her. "Y'all need to stop with this crap," she wrote, the words a mixture of frustration, defiance, and weary humor. "It's sick." Her post acted as a firebreak, halting the spread of misinformation for some fans, but the residual damage, the fear, the trauma, the emotional manipulation couldn't simply be undone. The hoax had weaponized not just the family's experiences, but their grief, their struggles, and their resilience. This incident also illuminated a broader vulnerability within modern fandoms. In the digital age, the speed at which information spreads often outpaces the speed of verification. Algorithms reward emotional engagement, shock, sadness, joy far more than factual accuracy. A fan's heartfelt tribute video, perfectly edited and accompanied by poignant music, can reach millions before a single fact-checking tweet appears. This dynamic creates a perverse incentive. The faster, louder, and more emotionally charged the content, the more attention it receives, regardless of its truthfulness. The 1,000-Pound Sisters fan community, known for its passion and dedication, became the perfect incubator for the hoax. Their deep affection for Amanda, combined with the rawness of recent losses, made them susceptible. The hoax did more than deceive. It briefly turned fans' love and devotion into an engine for spreading false information, creating a cycle of grief and validation that left both individuals and the community reeling. Yet from this chaos, a counter-narrative emerged. The family and their most dedicated fans began to harness the same tools of engagement to reclaim control of the narrative. Amanda, Chris, and other family members bypassed traditional media entirely, communicating directly with fans through Instagram Lives, TikTok updates, and unfiltered social media posts. A short video of Amanda making coffee the morning after her death announcement did more to affirm reality than any press release ever could. It was immediate, personal, and undeniable, a reclamation of truth through everyday authenticity. Fans, too, turned to creative resistance. Memes depicting Amanda with captions mocking the death rumors circulated widely, serving as collective psychological armor. These humorous responses drained the hoax of its power, reframing fear and grief as communal resilience. Artists and fans shifted their focus from posthumous tributes to celebrations of life. Illustrations of the sisters together, animations highlighting humorous or heartwarming moments, and creative works emphasizing perseverance and unity. This new wave of fan creativity was both cathartic and empowering, reclaiming the narrative that had been hijacked. In an ironic twist, the hoax underscored Amanda's significance. The family's coordinated, authentic response became an unscripted episode in their lives, demonstrating unity, resilience, and clarity in real time. It was more compelling than any manufactured tragedy, more revealing than a scripted reality show, and infinitely more inspiring than the ephemeral headlines that had sparked panic. Ultimately, the incident offers lessons for all digital media consumers. It is a case study in the ethical responsibilities of audiences in an era where emotion is a commodity. While genuine creativity connects, informs, and illuminates, exploitative hoaxes manipulate, distort, and harm. Critical thinking, verification, and intentional engagement are essential defenses against a media ecosystem designed to prioritize clicks over truth. For the Halterman-Slayton family, the ordeal was another battle in their ongoing journey to reclaim agency, from food, from immobility, from public scrutiny, and now, from digital manipulation. Each post, video, and interaction was a step toward taking back not just their story but their lives. In confronting the digital ghost of a faux tragedy, they demonstrated the resilience, humor, and tenacity that have long defined both their reality and the legacy of 1,000-Pound Sisters. The hoax, while initially horrifying, became an inadvertent catalyst for empowerment, creativity, and reflection. A reminder that in the age of viral misinformation, the power of authenticity and community can still prevail. In the hours following the revelation that Amanda Halterman was alive, the emotional landscape of her fans and family remained turbulent. The initial grief had been sharp and visceral, a punch to the gut that left many unable to think or act rationally. But as truth settled in, the roller coaster of emotions continued: relief, lingering fear, embarrassment, and a profound sense of betrayal. It wasn't just the media outlets or hoaxers to blame. Algorithms and social media dynamics had amplified the story, creating a pressure cooker where misinformation spread faster than verification. Amy Slatton, Amanda's sister and mother, found herself navigating this complicated terrain with characteristic determination. Already balancing the relentless demands of motherhood, her own health, and her public persona, Amy had to step into the digital battlefield. Messages flooded her phone, some sympathetic, some angry, some incredulous. Fans tagged her in hundreds of posts asking if the news was true. Some expressed mourning, others criticism for not immediately confirming the news. For Amy, the experience was exhausting, but it also highlighted the immense responsibility carried by those in the public eye. Amy took to Instagram Live to address fans directly. Her tone was a mixture of fatigue and candor. "Everyone, please, stop spreading this nonsense," she said, her voice calm but firm. "Amanda is alive. She is fine. We're all okay. But this kind of stuff? It's dangerous. It's hurtful. It's unnecessary." The live session quickly gained thousands of views. Fans expressed relief, gratitude, and a renewed sense of connection to the family. The unfiltered nature of the broadcast allowed authenticity to shine through, proving that direct communication could cut through the noise of digital manipulation. Meanwhile, Tammy Slatton, Amanda's other sister, also felt the reverberations of the hoax. Her own transformative health journey had made her a public figure, admired by fans for her resilience and determination. Yet this incident reminded her that even personal triumphs could be overshadowed by cruelty or misrepresentation. Tammy took a more reflective approach, spending time in quiet observation before responding publicly. She considered the emotional toll on herself, her sisters, and the broader family network. The hoax wasn't just about misinformation, it was about control, about the weaponization of grief for profit. Tammy's statement, brief but pointed, acknowledged the harm while reinforcing the family's unity. "It's exhausting that we even have to say this, but Amanda is fine," she posted. "This is a reminder to all. Think critically, question sources, and remember that our lives are not content for clicks." Her words resonated with fans who were increasingly aware of the manipulative nature of viral content. It became clear that the sisters' collective response, truth, transparency, and emotional resilience, was as compelling as any scripted reality show episode. The incident also exposed the fragility of fandom communities. Within minutes of the hoax breaking, fan spaces, Reddit threads, Facebook groups, Discord channels erupted with activity. Some fans mourned genuinely, expressing disbelief and sorrow. Others propagated the misinformation, whether out of enthusiasm, lack of verification, or the desire to participate in a trending narrative. The speed and intensity of these interactions highlighted a critical challenge in modern fandom. Emotional investment often precedes verification. In a digital landscape dominated by algorithms that reward immediacy, passion, and engagement, reasoned skepticism becomes secondary. Yet the response from the more conscientious fans was equally powerful. Individuals began creating posts debunking the rumors, compiling timelines, linking verified statements, and emphasizing Amanda's ongoing presence. They shared anecdotes, photos, and videos from recent events, offering real-time proof that she was alive, healthy, and interacting with her family. These efforts represented a new kind of fan activism, one where community members became custodians of truth, protecting both the family's reputation and the integrity of the fan network. The hoax also prompted a fascinating interplay between humor and resilience. Fans, seeking to reclaim power over the narrative, began circulating memes that poked fun at the false reports. Images of Amanda smiling or making everyday gestures were captioned with phrases like, "Me, after my 40th death rumor," or "Amanda, surviving hoax after hoax since forever." The humor functioned as a collective defense mechanism. It turned fear into laughter, grief into levity, and created a sense of solidarity among the fan base. The memes were not just jokes, they were acts of psychological reclamation, a way for fans to say, "You do not control our empathy or our narrative." Within the family, this period became a lesson in crisis management under the scrutiny of public attention. Amanda, true to her personality, handled the situation with a mix of exhaustion and blunt honesty. She posted short videos, selfies, and updates, underscoring the reality. She was alive, well, and undeterred. One video of her sipping coffee in her kitchen, captioned with a dry, "Still alive, still caffeinated," went viral, cutting through the misinformation and replacing panic with humor. Fans responded with messages of relief, support, and shared amusement. It was a rare moment in which authenticity triumphed over fabrication. Beyond the immediate reactions, the hoax highlighted systemic issues within the online content ecosystem. Fringe websites, impersonator accounts, and click-driven news outlets had exploited the predictable emotional rhythms of fans. Shock, grief, tribute, and aftermath, the standard narrative arc of a celebrity death, had been artificially constructed, tested, and deployed for maximum engagement. Human emotion became raw material, a commodity traded for clicks and ad revenue. The creators of the hoax were not merely pranksters, they were psychological tacticians, understanding how to manipulate both attention and sentiment. For the Halterman-Slayton family, the consequences went beyond emotional distress. The hoax forced them to confront the commodification of their grief and struggles, turning personal pain into public spectacle. Each message, post, and shared article was a reminder that their lives, triumphs, and traumas were constantly at risk of being repurposed for profit. Yet, in response, the family demonstrated remarkable agency. Rather than retreating, they became proactive in reclaiming the narrative, using the same digital tools to assert control, truth, and authenticity. The incident also shed light on the dual nature of parasocial relationships. Fans' deep emotional investment in Amanda made them vulnerable to manipulation, yet the same bond enabled rapid correction once verified information was presented. In essence, parasocial connections amplified both susceptibility and resistance. The outpouring of supportive, truth-driven posts, memes, and commentary highlighted the potential of fan communities to self-correct and protect the subjects of their admiration. As part 2 of the story unfolded, it became evident that the hoax was not merely an isolated event, it was a microcosm of modern digital culture. Speed, emotion, and virality often outpace verification and critical thinking. Algorithms favor content that elicits strong reactions, creating perverse incentives for misinformation. Yet authenticity, when deployed effectively, could counteract these forces. Amanda and her family, with the support of fans, demonstrated that transparency, humor, and direct communication were powerful antidotes to digital manipulation. Moreover, the incident catalyzed a shift in how fans engaged creatively. Traditional tributes, once focused on mourning, were replaced by celebrations of life, resilience, and humor. Fan art, videos, and posts highlighted strength, family bonds, and everyday moments of joy. Memes became tools of resistance, while live updates reaffirmed reality. This new wave of engagement transformed an emotionally destructive event into a platform for community solidarity, creativity, and empowerment. Ultimately, the hoax was both a challenge and a revelation. It tested the family's resilience, the fandom's discernment, and the integrity of digital communication. It exposed vulnerabilities in the attention economy, where emotion can be monetized and empathy manipulated. But it also revealed the capacity for authenticity, creativity, and community to reclaim narratives, support those under scrutiny, and convert vulnerability into empowerment. For Amanda Halterman, the ordeal was another chapter in a life already defined by perseverance. She had faced public scrutiny, personal challenges, and the pressures of reality television. This incident, while emotionally taxing, reaffirmed her influence, the loyalty of her fanbase, and the strength of her family bond. The hoax, intended to exploit, instead illuminated the unwavering reality of her presence, her humor, and her resilience. As fans gradually shifted from grief to relief, the community began to reflect on broader lessons. Misinformation spreads rapidly in a system designed to reward engagement. Verification often lags behind emotion. Yet, authenticity, humor, and direct communication remain potent forces for truth. The narrative, once hijacked, could be reclaimed, not only by those depicted in the hoax but also by fans willing to engage thoughtfully and critically. The ripple effects of the hoax continued to influence fan behavior, media literacy, and family dynamics. Fans became more cautious, checking primary sources and verified channels before reacting. Artists and content creators channeled their creativity into life-affirming works. The family, resilient as ever, leveraged the incident to strengthen bonds, reaffirm boundaries, and showcase their agency. In the end, the digital storm passed, leaving in its wake lessons in skepticism, community resilience, and the power of living truthfully in a world dominated by fabricated narratives. As the initial shock of Amanda's death, hoax faded, the Halterman family found themselves navigating a complicated landscape that was both deeply personal and entirely public. Their private lives had been violently intruded upon, yet the situation demanded a strategy that balanced emotional integrity with public clarity. Amanda, always direct, understood that silence could be misinterpreted as guilt or confirmation. At the same time, the rapid spread of misinformation had created a sense of urgency. Every hour without a verified update was another opportunity for the false narrative to solidify in the minds of fans. Amanda decided to confront the issue head-on, deploying her characteristic bluntness with a twist of humor. She posted a short video to her Instagram account. She was in her kitchen, casually making coffee, her expression deadpan. "Good morning," she said, "and for the record, I am alive. Not dead, not sick, just caffeinated and very tired of this nonsense." The video quickly went viral, and fans responded with relief, laughter, and admiration. The simplicity of the gesture, mundane, authentic, and unedited, cut through the chaos more effectively than any carefully worded press release could. Amy Tammy, witnessing the rapid transition from panic to humor, realized that the family survival of the hoax required more than reactive statements. They needed a multi-layered approach, emotional processing for themselves, real-time updates to their fans, and an understanding of the broader social dynamics at play. She began compiling verified information, screenshots, and timelines to respond to inquiries from fans, reporters, and online communities. Amy's methodical approach was a protective measure, both for her family's privacy and for the integrity of the story. Tammy, meanwhile, reflected on the psychological impact of the hoax. She thought not only about the emotional strain on Amanda and Amy, but also about the long-term implications for their audience. Reality TV audiences often develop deep parasocial bonds, emotional connections to people they have never met in real life. The hoax exploited these bonds, manipulating genuine affection into panic and viral engagement. Tammy recognized that this phenomenon extended beyond their family. It was a symptom of a media ecosystem that prioritized engagement metrics over truth. To counteract this, the family and their closest supporters began what could be described as a strategic counteroffensive. First, they used direct-to-fan storytelling. Amanda started posting short clips of daily life, morning routines, conversations with siblings, playful interactions with nieces and nephews. These videos served as evidence of her ongoing presence and vitality, while simultaneously humanizing her life outside of the reality TV lens. Each post was small, mundane, but profoundly effective. It reminded fans that reality exists beyond headlines and clickbait. Second, the fanbase itself became a powerful tool in reclaiming the narrative. Social media users co-opted the hoax's energy into memes, humor, and creative work. A widely circulated image showed Amanda holding a coffee mug with the caption, "My death rumors like, LOL, try again." Another meme featured her side-eye glance from a past episode with the words, "Me surviving another viral hoax, as usual." These creations were not just jokes. They functioned as collective psychological resistance, allowing fans to process fear, anger, and grief through humor and solidarity. Third, ethical fan art and creative tributes shifted focus. Artists stopped producing posthumous memorials and instead celebrated resilience, life, and family bonds. Illustrations depicted Amanda standing proudly alongside her sisters. Animations highlighted funny or heartwarming moments from past seasons, and digital collages emphasized triumph over adversity. This creative pivot represented both healing and empowerment, an act of reclaiming narrative agency from those who sought to manipulate it. In parallel, Amanda and her sisters began using social media to educate their audience about misinformation. Amy, in particular, shared detailed posts explaining how hoaxes spread, the psychology behind viral rumors, and the importance of verifying sources. She reminded fans that emotional engagement alone is not proof of truth. These educational efforts transformed the hoax from a moment of crisis into a teaching opportunity, strengthening fan literacy and encouraging critical thinking. The family also faced the emotional fallout. Having just lost Caleb, being confronted with the fabricated death of Amanda forced them to relive trauma they had barely processed. Amanda described the experience as surreal, a moment where grief and relief intertwined in complex ways. Amy spoke candidly about the panic of receiving calls from friends asking if Amanda had really passed. Tammy reflected on the anger she felt toward hoaxers who commodified their personal pain. Each sister had to process these feelings privately while maintaining a public front that reassured fans and contained the spread of misinformation. As the days unfolded, it became clear that the hoax had unintended consequences for both the family and their audience. Fans had become more vigilant, more skeptical, and more invested in verifying information before sharing. The community had developed a newfound resilience, a capacity to respond with both humor and evidence-based reasoning. Memes, fan art, and direct communication created a feedback loop where truth and creativity could counter falsehoods. The incident also sparked reflection within the family about boundaries and digital exposure. Amanda realized that while social media allowed her to connect with fans, it also made her vulnerable to exploitation. She began setting clear limits on what could be shared publicly, which channels to prioritize for verified information, and how to respond to potentially harmful content. Amy and Tammy participated in these discussions, ensuring that family unity remained central to their strategy. Interestingly, the hoax underscored Amanda's central role in the family dynamic. Her presence, voice, and decisiveness were unmistakable in the response to the crisis. Fans observed not only her humor but also her resilience, adaptability, and capacity to navigate high-pressure situations. The episode reinforced her position as a stabilizing force, both on-screen and off, and demonstrated that public perception could be corrected when approached with transparency and authenticity. The creative ecosystem that arose from the hoax further highlighted the intersection of media literacy, fandom, and narrative control. Fans who engaged critically, questioned sources, and contributed creatively became allies rather than passive consumers. Their work, memes, posts, videos, and art served as a cultural counterweight to manipulation. The family leveraged these contributions, amplifying their reach and reinforcing the real narrative while simultaneously celebrating the community's dedication. By the end of the week, the narrative had shifted dramatically. What began as panic and grief had transformed into empowerment, solidarity, and education. Amanda was alive, the family was stable, and fans were more aware of the dangers of misinformation. Memes, humor, and creative tributes flooded social media, replacing sorrow with laughter and fear with understanding. The hoax, once a tool of manipulation, had inadvertently catalyzed a new wave of communal engagement, fan education, and creative resistance. The incident became a broader case study in digital culture. It demonstrated how parasocial relationships, emotional investment, and algorithm-driven content distribution could be exploited. Yet it also revealed the potential for authenticity, direct communication, and creative fan engagement to counteract these forces. For Amanda and her family, the episode was not only a test of resilience, but also an opportunity to reinforce boundaries, educate their audience, and reclaim control over their story. In retrospect, the hoax functioned as a mirror for modern media consumption. Fans were forced to confront their own impulses, to share, react, and engage before verifying facts. The incident highlighted the ethical dimensions of online behavior, the responsibilities of content creators, and the power of intentional, informed participation in digital communities. For the Halterman-Slayton family, it emphasized the importance of transparency, humor, and unwavering solidarity in navigating a world where personal lives could easily be commodified for profit. Ultimately, the crisis revealed enduring themes that had long defined 1,000-pound sisters: resilience in the face of adversity, the strength of family bonds, and the capacity to transform challenges into lessons and opportunities. Amanda's survival of the hoax, combined with the family's coordinated response and the fanbase's creative activism, reinforced the central narrative. Truth, authenticity, and collective engagement could triumph over manipulation, fear, and digital exploitation. As the dust from the immediate shock of the Amanda Halterman hoax began to settle, the Slayton-Halterman family faced the task of rebuilding not only their emotional equilibrium, but also the structures that safeguarded their narrative. What had initially been a chaotic, emotionally charged response evolved into a deliberate and strategic effort to assert control over their story, protect themselves, and educate their fanbase about the perils of misinformation in the digital age. Amanda, having lived through the anxiety and anger that came with being falsely declared dead, took a proactive stance. She knew that allowing social media algorithms to dictate the narrative would always put her at risk of similar attacks. With Amy and Tammy's support, she started to develop a plan for direct audience engagement. They would leverage Instagram Lives, TikTok updates, and verified posts as primary communication channels. These platforms provided real-time, unfiltered access to fans and allowed the family to control both tone and content. It was authenticity at its most potent. Amanda making coffee in the morning, Amy interacting with her sons, or Tammy sharing a lighthearted moment from her daily routine became counterpoints to the fabricated chaos. Amy, in particular, emerged as an architect of this strategy. Already accustomed to balancing the responsibilities of motherhood, personal health, and public scrutiny, she applied methodical precision to the management of misinformation. Screenshots, timestamps, video evidence, and personal anecdotes became tools not just for clarification, but for teaching fans how to verify facts themselves. In one widely shared post, Amy broke down the timeline of the hoax, showing exactly how the story originated, how it spread, and what signals fans could look for to avoid being misled in the future. Her tone was measured and instructive, transforming a moment of emotional manipulation into a learning opportunity for the entire community. Tammy's response was more reflective, delving into the psychological and emotional implications of the hoax. She observed how parasocial relationships, the emotional connections fans form with media personalities, were both a strength and a vulnerability. While these bonds allowed fans to empathize, cheer, and celebrate alongside the family, they also made them susceptible to manipulation. The hoax exploited the depth of fans' attachment to Amanda, weaponizing genuine care into a tool for engagement. Tammy's insight was crucial, as it framed the incident not merely as an attack on the family, but as a broader lesson in media literacy and emotional awareness. One of the most striking aspects of the post-hoax landscape was the role of humor and creativity in resilience. Fans had co-opted the narrative of Amanda's death into a shared joke, producing memes and lighthearted content that reframed fear as empowerment. Images of Amanda laughing, raising a coffee mug, or rolling her eyes were captioned with clever references to the hoax: "Still alive and thriving," "Me surviving my 40th death rumor," or "Amanda, undefeated in life and hoaxes." These humorous interventions served multiple purposes. They allowed fans to process trauma collectively, to regain agency in a moment of digital chaos, and to reaffirm their loyalty while defending Amanda against the hoaxers. The family also recognized that long-term resilience required structural adjustments. Amanda, in particular, implemented a layered communication approach: real-time updates for breaking news, scheduled posts for personal milestones, and private conversations with close friends and fans for nuanced clarification. Amy and Tammy advised on timing, tone, and verification strategies, creating a cohesive communication ecosystem designed to preempt misinformation while maintaining authenticity. In essence, the family became both content creators and narrative guardians, shaping the story of their own lives in real time. Psychologically, the hoax had significant implications. Each family member processed the event differently. Amanda experienced anger, disbelief, and relief in rapid succession. Amy felt a blend of anxiety, protectiveness, and responsibility. Tammy reflected on trauma, resilience, and the ethical dimensions of audience engagement. The convergence of these emotional experiences highlighted the complexity of living life under public scrutiny, where private grief could become a public spectacle. The family's ability to navigate these emotions while maintaining public clarity became a case study in emotional intelligence and crisis management in the digital era. Fan response further amplified the significance of the incident. Many fans, deeply invested in the family's well-being, actively participated in debunking false reports, circulating verified information, and creating humorous or celebratory content. This emergent behavior revealed the potential of fan communities to function as agents of truth rather than passive consumers of content. By combining emotional investment with critical thinking and creative output, fans became co-authors of the family's narrative, reinforcing authenticity while resisting exploitation. The hoax also served as a catalyst for reflection on broader societal issues. It exposed how algorithms prioritize virality over accuracy, how human empathy can be commodified, and how parasocial relationships can be manipulated. More importantly, it demonstrated the necessity of ethical engagement in digital spaces. Fans, content creators, and media consumers alike were forced to confront the tension between emotional immediacy and factual verification, a tension that has far-reaching consequences in an era dominated by instant news and social media amplification. As the family and their supporters adapted, they began to transform the crisis into an opportunity for empowerment. Fan-generated content shifted from posthumous tributes to celebrations of life, creativity, and resilience. Illustrations depicted Amanda and her sisters standing together, stronger and more united than ever. Animations captured humorous or poignant moments from the show, reinforcing the reality of their lives rather than the fabricated tragedy. Memes and humor became tools for psychological defense, allowing both fans and family to reclaim control over narrative and emotional response. Amanda's presence, both online and in personal interactions, became the cornerstone of this recovery process. Her authenticity, mundane, unfiltered, and relatable, served as irrefutable evidence against the hoax. Videos of her cooking breakfast, playing with nieces and nephews, or simply speaking candidly about the incident reaffirmed the truth. Each post, while simple, was a deliberate countermeasure, an assertion of life, agency, and visibility in a digital ecosystem that had temporarily threatened to erase her existence. In addition to these tactical responses, the family also emphasized the importance of emotional processing and self-care. They recognized that responding to misinformation is not solely about correcting facts. It also requires managing stress, anger, and vulnerability. Amy, in particular, leaned on mindfulness practices, community support, and structured planning to maintain her own well-being while assisting Amanda and Tammy. Tammy focused on reflective practices, journaling, and sharing insights to process trauma and maintain perspective. These strategies underscored the interplay between emotional resilience and public communication, highlighting how personal stability underpins effective narrative control. By the end of this period, the hoax had inadvertently demonstrated the strength, adaptability, and unity of the Halterman family. What began as a moment of profound vulnerability had evolved into a multifaceted response encompassing humor, creativity, education, and psychological insight. The family emerged not only intact but strengthened, their narrative reclaimed and reinforced through deliberate action and community engagement. This evolution also provided lessons for the broader fandom and media landscape. It emphasized the importance of verifying information before sharing, of critically evaluating sources, and of recognizing the potential for emotional manipulation in digital spaces. It showcased the power of authenticity, transparency, and humor in combating misinformation, while illustrating the positive impact that organized, engaged fan communities can have when aligned with truth rather than virality. Ultimately, the Amanda Halterman hoax became more than a moment of false tragedy. It became a testament to resilience, creativity, and community. The family, supported by their dedicated fans, transformed an emotionally destructive incident into a platform for education, empowerment, and artistic expression. Through transparency, humor, and authentic engagement, they reclaimed their narrative, reinforced bonds within their community, and provided a blueprint for navigating similar crises in an era dominated by social media manipulation. The lessons from this event were manifold. Emotional immediacy must be balanced with critical thinking. Parasocial connections can both enrich and endanger, and authenticity is a powerful antidote to falsehood. For Amanda and her sisters, the experience reaffirmed core truths. Their lives are their own. Their bonds are unbreakable, and their presence in the public eye is a space they can navigate with agency, humor, and unwavering honesty. As the immediate aftermath of the hoax began to fade, the Halterman-Slayton family shifted their focus from reaction to long-term strategy. The incident had exposed vulnerabilities, not just in their digital presence, but in the very ways their fans interacted with content, how misinformation propagated, and how parasocial relationships could be manipulated. They realized that surviving the hoax was only the first step. Ensuring it didn't happen again required deliberate planning, thoughtful communication, and strategic engagement. Amanda, still processing the emotional whirlwind, leaned heavily on her sisters for support. Tammy, who had faced public scrutiny throughout her health and weight loss journey, offered both practical advice and emotional grounding. "We've survived reality TV, media rumors, and public judgment," Tammy said. "This is no different. It's just digital noise. Let's turn it into something productive." Amy, methodical and organized, began developing protocols for social media management, verified posts, timely updates, and clear messaging to fans. Together, the sisters formed a cohesive unit, transforming crisis management into a coordinated operation. One of the first lessons they implemented was preemptive communication. Amanda began sharing more glimpses of daily life, not out of vanity, but to maintain transparency. Simple, mundane moments, making coffee, walking in a yard, joking with her nieces, became powerful statements. "I'm alive, I'm present, and this is my life." Each post reinforced authenticity and created a buffer against future misinformation. Fans quickly adapted, learning to look for primary evidence and verified accounts before reacting to sensational claims. The fanbase, deeply invested and now more vigilant, became an essential partner in narrative protection. Online communities began establishing norms, verifying sources, flagging suspicious posts, and encouraging others to wait before spreading unverified news. Memes, once merely humorous, became part of a larger strategy for resistance. One popular image circulated widely: Amanda sitting at her kitchen table, coffee in hand, with the caption, "Still here, still caffeinated, still fabulous." It was playful yet symbolic, a reminder that the family could not be erased by rumor or manipulation. Amanda herself embraced humor as a tool for resilience. Her quick wit and irreverence became essential components of her response strategy. In addition to daily posts, she released short videos addressing the hoax directly, blending humor with transparency. "Breaking news," she said in one clip, "I am not dead. Again. Tune in tomorrow for more updates on my very much alive adventures." Fans loved it. The lighthearted tone provided relief from the emotional intensity while reinforcing credibility. At the same time, the sisters recognized the importance of educating their audience about digital literacy. Amy posted step-by-step guides on how to verify social media reports, check source credibility, and avoid sharing misinformation. She explained the psychology behind hoaxes, detailing how algorithms amplify content that elicits strong emotional reactions. This approach empowered fans to engage critically, transforming passive spectators into active participants in protecting both the family and the integrity of information. Tammy, ever reflective, focused on the psychological impact of the hoax. She observed how quickly grief, anger, and relief had fluctuated, not just within the family, but across the fan community. The hoax had manipulated emotion for engagement, but it also revealed the emotional investment of their audience. Tammy encouraged fans to process their feelings responsibly, emphasizing self-awareness and critical thinking. She noted that parasocial bonds, while genuine in their influence, could be exploited if not approached with caution. Her insights were shared in interviews, social media posts, and fan Q&A sessions, becoming part of a larger conversation about emotional literacy online. The family also explored the creative potential of the incident. Fans who had initially shared panicked reactions now produced content celebrating Amanda's survival, resilience, and humor. Digital art, animations, and short videos highlighted life, not death. Memes, once a coping mechanism, became cultural touchstones, reinforcing the idea that humor and creativity could counter fear and manipulation. For example, one widely shared animation depicted Amanda dodging flying clickbait headlines, her coffee cup acting as a shield. It was whimsical, yet symbolic of the family's real-world efforts to protect their narrative. Behind the scenes, the sisters implemented structured digital boundaries. Amanda limited which platforms she engaged with directly, focusing on those that allowed verified interaction. Amy monitored public posts and comments, curating content for accuracy and relevance. Tammy emphasized the need for personal time, mental health breaks, and private reflection. These measures ensured that the family could maintain authenticity without being consumed by the relentless pace of online rumor propagation. Psychologically, the experience reinforced resilience and adaptability. Amanda reflected on how the hoax had temporarily destabilized her sense of control, forcing her to confront vulnerability in a public setting. Amy recognized that methodical planning and fan education could mitigate future risks. Tammy saw the opportunity to transform trauma into insight, both for themselves and their audience. Collectively, they understood that control over narrative wasn't about suppressing emotion, it was about harnessing it deliberately. The hoax also prompted broader discussion within fan communities about the ethics of engagement. Many fans recognized that their eagerness to react had unintentionally amplified the false narrative. By sharing, commenting, and memorializing prematurely, they had contributed to the emotional impact of the hoax. Discussions emerged about balancing emotional connection with critical analysis, creating a more sophisticated, engaged, and responsible fan culture. Through this process, the family story became a blueprint for navigating digital crises. Key strategies emerged: transparency and real-time updates, immediate, authentic communication cut through misinformation, humor as defense, playful engagement diffused fear and reclaimed agency, fan education, empowering audiences to verify information strengthened community resilience, creative resistance, memes, art, and digital storytelling became tools to reframe narratives. Structured boundaries, deliberate management of social media engagement protected mental health and narrative control. The combination of these strategies transformed a moment of vulnerability into one of empowerment. Amanda's presence, combined with Amy and Tammy's organizational and reflective approaches, created a multi-layered shield against misinformation while strengthening the bonds between the family and their fans. Over time, fans not only adapted to this new paradigm, but began contributing actively to narrative protection. Verified screenshots, fact-check threads, and playful memes became commonplace in fan spaces. Collective awareness grew, reinforcing the idea that audiences are not merely passive recipients, they are stakeholders in the integrity of the narrative. Meanwhile, the family also reflected on the lessons about the media ecosystem. They recognized that hoaxes thrive on speed, emotion, and parasocial influence. Algorithms reward sensationalism, clicks, and engagement over accuracy. By responding with deliberate, authentic, and creative communication, the family demonstrated a counterforce to these dynamics, reclaiming both their story and their emotional autonomy. The aftermath of the hoax, then, became a defining moment for both the family and their fan base. Amanda's survival, The sisters' strategic response and the fan community's active participation transformed a potentially devastating incident into a case study in resilience, creativity, and digital literacy. What had started as panic evolved into empowerment, teaching lessons about media consumption, critical thinking, and the ethical responsibilities of both content creators and audiences. By the end of this chapter, it was clear that the Halterman family had not only survived the hoax, they had turned it into a catalyst for growth. Fans were more engaged, informed, and creative. The family was more united, strategic, and emotionally resilient. And Amanda, at the center of it all, remained alive, present, and unapologetically herself, a living testament to the power of truth, humor, and community in the digital age. As weeks turned into months following the Amanda Halterman hoax, the Halterman family began to reflect on the broader implications of the incident. What had started as a shocking, surreal moment, Amanda being falsely declared dead online, had evolved into a profound lesson about resilience, community, and the interplay between authenticity and digital influence. The experience had tested their emotional limits, their strategic thinking, and the loyalty of their fanbase, but it had also forged new strengths that would carry them forward. Amanda, more aware than ever of the vulnerabilities inherent in public life, began intentionally shaping her digital presence. She used humor and relatability as primary tools. Her daily routines, candid conversations, and small victories shared online became both evidence of life and a subtle form of narrative armor. A video of Amanda dancing with her nieces in the living room, for example, went viral within hours, not because of sensationalism, but because it radiated authenticity and joy. Fans responded not with panic, but with celebration, reinforcing the emotional bonds that had been temporarily tested by the hoax. Amy's role as organizer and strategist deepened. She maintained detailed logs of social media interactions, cross-checked suspicious reports, and coordinated with Amanda to issue verified updates. Amy also continued educating fans about media literacy, using the hoax as a teaching moment. She shared posts that explained how fake news spreads, how to recognize disinformation, and why it's important to pause before reacting. These efforts transformed a potentially destructive incident into a long-term lesson for the fandom, creating a more informed, resilient, and engaged community. Tammy, drawing on her own experiences navigating public scrutiny and personal health challenges, emphasized emotional resilience. She guided her sisters in managing stress, recognizing trauma triggers, and establishing personal boundaries. Tammy's reflections were shared openly, offering fans a candid view into how to navigate crises with mindfulness and patience. Her perspective highlighted that resilience is not just about reacting externally. It also requires internal emotional work, reflection, and self-care. One of the most remarkable outcomes of the hoax was how it galvanized the fanbase. Fans had initially reacted with panic, grief, and anger, but they quickly became allies in narrative protection. Online communities collaborated to fact-check reports, flag suspicious accounts, and create supportive content that celebrated Amanda's life rather than mourning her fabricated death. Memes, illustrations, and videos emerged as both creative expression and social defense, transforming fear and vulnerability into empowerment. A popular fan-made animation depicted Amanda literally dodging flying clickbait headlines, symbolizing her resilience and the community's collective role in defending her story. The family also began to examine the ethical implications of audience behavior. The hoax had revealed that even well-intentioned fans could unintentionally amplify misinformation. Many expressed remorse for sharing unverified reports too quickly, acknowledging the emotional toll their actions had inadvertently caused. This led to broader discussions about responsibility in digital spaces, reinforcing the idea that fandom is not only about admiration and loyalty, but also about ethical engagement and critical thinking. Amanda herself embraced the opportunity to reclaim her narrative. She began producing content that directly addressed the hoax, blending humor with education. A video showing her sipping coffee, shrugging at the camera, and saying, "Still alive, still caffeinated, still fabulous," was widely shared and became emblematic of her defiant yet lighthearted response. Fans appreciated the authenticity, humor, and immediacy, reinforcing the lesson that direct communication and personal presence could neutralize even the most pernicious rumors. Amy and Tammy supported Amanda by establishing a structured approach to digital engagement. Verified accounts were prioritized, suspicious activity was documented, and fan interactions were carefully monitored. This approach created a protective buffer, ensuring that future misinformation could be quickly identified and addressed. The sisters also emphasized mental health strategies, recognizing that constant engagement with social media could be draining. By setting boundaries and practicing self-care, they maintained authenticity without sacrificing emotional stability. The hoax also became a catalyst for creative expression within the fan community. Illustrators, animators, and meme creators pivoted from posthumous tributes to celebratory works that emphasized resilience, humor, and life. Animations highlighted Amanda's playful personality, illustrations depicted the sisters supporting each other, and memes transformed fear into laughter. This creative output not only reinforced positive engagement, but also offered fans a tangible way to reclaim agency, turning the energy of the hoax into something affirming and constructive. Psychologically, the incident strengthened the family's cohesion. Shared trauma, when navigated effectively, can create deeper bonds, and the sisters experienced this firsthand. They coordinated responses, supported each other emotionally, and collectively decided how to manage their public narrative. Amanda's humor, Amy's strategic planning, and Tammy's reflective guidance created a balance that allowed them to process fear, anger, and vulnerability while maintaining unity. Their collective response became a living demonstration of family resilience in the digital age. From a broader perspective, the hoax illuminated key lessons about the intersection of media, technology, and human emotion. Algorithms prioritize sensationalism and engagement over truth, creating fertile ground for manipulation. Parasocial bonds, while powerful, can make audiences susceptible to exploitation. Yet, the incident also showed that authenticity, transparency, and creativity can counteract these forces. By engaging directly with fans, using humor, and establishing clear boundaries, the family demonstrated a replicable model for protecting narrative integrity in an era dominated by social media. By the end of this chapter, it was clear that the Halterman family had transformed a potential catastrophe into a story of empowerment. Amanda remained alive and vibrant. The sisters were united and strategic, and fans were more informed, resilient, and creative than ever. What began as panic evolved into education, humor, and empowerment, a blueprint for navigating misinformation and parasocial influence in the modern digital landscape. The hoax also reinforced enduring truths about the family's journey. Their lives, long documented through reality television, had always been defined by resilience, honesty, and the ability to transform challenges into lessons. This digital crisis was simply another chapter in that ongoing story, one that showcased the power of family, community, and personal authenticity. Fans witnessed firsthand that the strength of the Halterman bond could withstand even the most invasive and manipulative forces of the online world. As the family moved forward, they continued to integrate these lessons into their daily lives. Amanda's humor and authenticity remained central. Amy's strategic oversight ensured clarity and accuracy, and Tammy's reflective guidance maintained emotional balance. Together, they had reclaimed their narrative, strengthened their community, and demonstrated that even in a digital environment designed for rapid misinformation, truth, humor, and human connection could prevail. In the end, the hoax became more than just a false story. It was a testament to the power of resilience, creativity, and authenticity. Amanda's survival, the sisters' strategic response, and the fan community's engagement created a multi-layered narrative of empowerment. It highlighted the importance of critical thinking, emotional intelligence, and ethical engagement in digital spaces. Most importantly, it reaffirmed that the family's story, real, flawed, humorous, and resilient, could not be erased by clickbait or manipulation. The legacy of the incident, therefore, was not fear or grief, but growth, learning, and strengthened bonds. Amanda, Amy, and Tammy had weathered a storm designed to destabilize them, and in doing so, They had created a model of resilience for fans and public figures alike. The Hoax had inadvertently amplified their core strengths: authenticity, humor, strategic thinking, and familial solidarity. The family emerged not merely intact, but empowered, setting the stage for future challenges to be met with confidence, creativity, and unwavering unity. In the quiet moments following the chaos, Amanda reflected on what had transpired. Sitting in her kitchen, coffee in hand, she smiled. "I survived," she said, "not just the hoax, but everything it tried to take from us. Life goes on, and it's ours to live." Amy and Tammy shared a knowing glance, a silent acknowledgement of the lessons learned, the bonds strengthened, and the community forged in the process. Together, they had reclaimed their story, their agency, and their narrative, and nothing online could ever take that away. The Amanda Halterman hoax had been a test of emotional endurance, strategic thinking, and digital literacy. It had revealed the vulnerabilities of modern fandom, the power of parasocial bonds, and the manipulative potential of click-driven algorithms. Yet, through humor, authenticity, education, and community, the Slayton-Halterman family not only survived, it thrived. Their journey provided a blueprint for navigating the complexities of public life in the digital age, demonstrating that resilience, creativity, and integrity are more powerful than misinformation, fear, or manipulation. For Amanda, Amy, Tammy, and their fans, the lesson was clear. In a world where truth can be distorted and narratives hijacked, authenticity, humor, and community are the ultimate shields. They had reclaimed their story, reinforced their bonds, and proven that life, vivid, imperfect, and alive, is stronger than any digital illusion. And in that reclamation, they found not only survival, but triumph and a renewed sense of purpose to continue sharing their lives, struggles, and victories with the world on their own terms.